Hello and welcome to the Overland Journal podcast. I'm your host, Scott Brady, and I'm joined today by Clay Croft. Now, Clay has been on this podcast many times because him and his team at XOverland are truly an inspiration to the industry, and we always have so much to discuss. Clay and I are longtime friends, so we get the chance to connect again at the Overland Expo West in 2024. We talk about Clay's recent adventures in Africa. We talk about doing the hard things in life to have the rewards of those goals. We also talk about ways of achieving balance and overcoming some challenges that both of us have experienced in our travels around the world. Talk a little bit about travel security, and we also talk about Clay's recent addition with the XOverland Ranch in Montana, which is a very exciting development for the industry. So please enjoy my conversation with Clay Croft. And a special thanks to Real Truck for their support of this week's podcast. Find your freedom and follow your own trail in the fresh air of vast, uncharted places. Introducing the exclusive Real Truck lineup of overlanding accessories designed to take adventurous explorers like you into the furthest reaches with gear for camping, off-roading, and more, including the all-new Real Truck Go Rack, Go Tent, and Overland Awning. And here's to those inspired, self-actualized souls brave enough to unplug and check into pure wilderness. Bring your truck to life at realtruck.com. Thanks again, Real Truck. Clay, thanks so much for being on the podcast yet again. One of our most regular guests on the podcast.
Really?
Yeah, well, because you're amazing, of course. So,
Thank you.
Well, and you do stuff, Clay, that it inspires everyone, including me. It inspires the new Overlander. It inspires the longtime Overlander. Your content it's healthy and family friendly, and you tell a great story of friendship and family and adventure that is really hard to find. So,
well, thank you.
You guys are an inspiration to so many. Your family, I just think that it's a great modeling that society needs to continue to see is, a husband and wife that are supporting each other, or partners that are supporting each other, kids that are being supported and shown the world and given opportunities to learn and grow and be a part of, a healthy part of society. And you guys are modeling all that, and it's harder and harder to find that kind of content. So,
yeah, thank you. It's harder and harder to do.
Yeah,
frankly, but I appreciate
because controversy sells, and you can do a go selfie mode on your phone and just churn up a bunch of controversy, and you'll get a lot of views. But to just tell really healthy, positive stories. And let that be the foundation of your business. I just admire it. So
thank you. Well, to piggyback off of like Overland Journal, the coffee table magazine,
yeah.
The one that you will pick up in 5 years and still read.
Yeah. Thank you.
And that I remember talking about that years ago, like when we started, and I was like, yeah, I like that idea, because at the end of our career runs, what are you going to have to show for it?
Yeah, that's right.
You guys have this amazing catalog of basically chronologically documenting the overland journey in the world. You can go back and read it. It's like how Nat Geo was when I was a kid. You could go read. I had all of them.
Yeah, sure.
Now I feel that way about the OJs. Like what was happening here?
Yeah.
So that's a big motivator.
And we've seen, it's interesting because we've been doing it for so long now that we've seen people coming into their career. We've also seen people ending a lifetime of adventure and telling their final stories. Wow. Or retiring or passing on now. Yeah. So that's been really interesting now that we've been in business for 20 years now. It's been interesting to see all of that evolution. When I look at myself in the mirror, I see a few more gray hairs than I had when I started all of this.
A lot of good miles.
Yeah. So it's a reminder that, in life, it's a reminder that we have only a certain amount of time. And the most important resource that we have, period, is the time that we spend. Yeah. So I think that it's important to not spend it frivolously. It's important to
really be mindful of getting stuck in the doom scrolling and a bunch of this other stuff that just really takes a lot of your life away. And it doesn't add a lot back. So
it absolutely. I've been dealing with that lately. When you get into stress and you want to get to that, and our life is on social media.
It is.
So you've got to go there. I've been battling that too.
Yeah, I took it off my phone. I just had to take it off my phone. And I've had it off my phone for a long time now. And I just use I have an iPad mini that I just keep the social media stuff on. And it's got, cellular connection. So you can throw it in your messenger bag or whatever. And
so you can still do the things.
You can still do the work. That's right. But it isn't something that is where it becomes such a Pavlovian response where the phone buzzes. Yeah. And also turn off all your notifications. That's really important.
I had to do that. That overrode my ADD-ness. Like
exactly.
I couldn't get
and they know that.
Yeah.
But they know, like we don't stand a chance against an army of behavioral psychologists that are trying to manipulate every moment of our day.
Yeah. So and they're really good at it.
They really are. They really are.
Yeah.
Which is why we're talking about real adventure, which is why you create the content that you do and we create the content that we do, is to tell real stories about real people doing real stuff. And that's the stuff of memories. That's the stuff that when you're at the end of your life and you look back, when you and I are sitting on our rocker chairs, 30 years from now, and we're talking, remember back in the day.
We did that thing.
Yeah. When we crossed Russia, you can't do that right now.
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't dare try.
Yeah. Yeah. Nope.
You know what I mean? So it just
the Greenland thing, the Transglobal card just got shut down for Greenland for right now. They're actually paused to do that. Yeah, but you got to go do the real adventures. I have this thing recently where I was like, because we all get in this I got to go make money because money makes the world go round.
Yeah,
in so many
that's
ways.
What we're told. Yeah,
and and to some degree, there's truth to it because you need resources to go do things. But I'm like, I don't want to be the guy that dies rich with no stories.
Yeah. I
want to be the guy that dies rich with stories, And that
you're striking a balance.
Keeping that balance. So how hard do you push at what time and when should you back off? My oldest son, Cyrus, is graduating high school in a week.
Wow, that's incredible.
And you just go like, whoa. And you always hear it goes fast. Yes, it does.
Yeah, the first time I met your family, those guys were all I don't know if all of them were even made yet.
Yeah, I think Eli was probably super fresh.
Yeah.
And man, holy cow, it goes fast. He's running the booth over here.
That's incredible.
He's in there checking merchandise out.
That's incredible.
So, yeah.
What are some things or some tools in your toolbox or lessons that you've learned to help strike a little bit of that balance now that you've got some miles under your belt?
I think the thing that has helped me a lot is kind of reading a bit up on Stoicism.
Yeah, that's good.
That has helped. And it's, I grew up in the Christian church, and when you heard Stoicism, it was like, it had this stigma to it. And
but it's not a religion.
It's not that. It's just a lot of stuff to think about.
Yeah.
And it's said in a certain way. And so I've taken some of these things and it helped me just apply some thinking to my life. And that thinking has led me to saying, I just really diving into the time, money, family, life balance. And then going on a couple trips with some really solid guys like Dr. John.
Yeah, sure.
Dr. John, we were just in Africa a month ago, and he was saying, I've been at the deathbed of a lot of people, and they don't want more money. They don't want more anything. They just want to spend more time with the people they love.
Well, they would give up all the money that they had for one more day.
For one more day,
And how quickly we'll spend a day right now.
So when you hear that, even on the other side, if you're hearing this in your car or in your headphones or whatever, it can go in one ear and out the other.
Yeah.
But if you stop and really think through this, take a minute, and it can be a scary place to unlock that door.
Yeah, yeah.
And to let yourself go in there because it might start to mess up what you got going on because you had certain priorities and certain drivers, and that thought could mess up what you're doing. But it's worth looking at.
I think so. I think it's good to do those thought exercises. I remember seeing that you had bought that poster, Memento Mori, which is that remembering that we're all going to die, and we've only got so much time on average. I mean, you're younger than I am, and you may benefit from some medical advancements that keep you around a couple decades, but they're thinking that, we're talking about 120 years or so is about as far as they're going to be able to stretch things, at least for the time being. So we've only got so much time.
Yeah.
And every time you check off one of those weeks.
Yeah, I just did. My birthday was a few days ago. I just checked off another line. It's finished.
Yeah.
I'm 42. I'm working on year 43 now.
Yeah.
And it is humbling. And it says,
it really is.
And I the good thing is I feel like I've gotten after life as hard as I could. And it's certainly not perfect.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
But I look back on it, I'm like, no, those were good.
Yeah.
Those are good years. The time's going to pass anyway. You can't stop that. So I look back on it like, that's good. Okay, now I need to make a few more changes so that as I get into these older years, I can keep at it.
Yeah.
You and I have always talked about our health and trying to stay in better shape and stuff. And that's always been a challenge for me. So
it has for me
thinking
too,
about that and focusing on that, because I started to say, you know what, I'm starting to say no or not really thinking about certain adventures because of my condition.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's messed up. The future is to be seen.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thinking right now. Like I want to make those changes and stuff, but I'm always trying to think that way. To answer your question,
I think that's good though. And I remember one of the things that was the most powerful for me around the whole stoicism concept was this realization that the only thing that we can control is our reaction. Like we can't control our health. Like even the healthiest person can get sick, get cancer, whatever. You can't control the actions of others. You can't control what the stock market's going to do. Like we spend a lot of energy trying to control things that we can't, but actually the thing that we spend the least amount of time is the only thing that we can control, and that's our reaction to things. So when I read that, it's funny how things stick with you, but when I read that, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to have any more bad reaction days. I can have bad days because there's things that happen that are out of our control, and
they're tough.
And maybe I'm tough, maybe it's tough, maybe I'm exhausted or whatever, but I'm not going to take it out on other people. I'm going to be really mindful. And I've always been pretty calm and as kind as I can be, but now I try to be even more so because I realize it's actually the only thing in my life that I have any control over is how I react. And that's pretty powerful once you realize that.
It is.
And it does, and it really, in a positive way, affects those around you. When you're not yelling at your kids, when you're not, barking at your employees, when you're not being unkind and yelling at yourself, which I know I do that.
That's a tough one.
I do that a lot more often than I would ever do it to someone else.
And I can be between the ears.
Yeah, I can be really hard on myself. And maybe I am a perfectionist. I don't consider myself one, but it's that I just get disappointed in myself, and then I can be really negative towards myself. Like things I would never in my lifetime say to another human being.
But you'll allow it to.
I'll allow myself to say it to myself. So I'm working on that too.
Yeah, that's a good one to work on. I'm that way too. Right? I think anybody who's pretty driven that wants to achieve things and stuff is part of the territory. Some of it can be used for good. I can say that there's sometimes that, the idea, like, I did a lot of stuff that I wouldn't have done because I knew there would be a spanking on the other side.
Sure.
So there still is some degree of
the consequences.
Consequence is good,
Sure.
But yeah, man, giving ourselves grace I've been working on that too, and for joy.
Yeah.
Trying to bring more joy back into, because there is a mountain of work to do.
Yeah.
And as you achieve the centrifugal force, whatever, these things spin up further, like the momentums and the pressures get all greater. And I kind of hit a point where I was like, all of this is still impacting my daily happiness a lot, because I'm letting it, and I want to be happier. So I got to just tell myself I got to be happier because life's good. I don't need to put all this pressure on myself.
And it's so funny how saying no can can lead to a lot more joy. Because I think we say yes to a lot of things that aren't a hell yes in our life. And I think the more often that we just are like, all right, is this a hell yes? And if not, it's going to have to be a no or a not right now.
Or not right now.
Because the FOMO is strong, especially in the society, the way that it's structured with Instagram and everything else. You want to always be putting up this view of life or this vision of life. But I think we get a lot more joy when we're selective, when we do the things that really matter to us, like you guys have done. You've done a really good job of staying true to your core values. You only work with high quality companies. You know, it's one of the things that I believe is important when you're sponsored is be sponsored by high quality products that you would have used yourself anyways.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't do that. You know, it's like, is that $199 Chinese fridge, is that really something you want to tell somebody to go spend their hard-earned money on?
Yeah.
You know, or trust it to get them, you know, keep their tacos fresh all the way down to Baja. You know, it's just not going to, it's not going to happen. Yeah. So,
and it is, you know, on the sponsorship front and like any business, I guess, there's a whole lot of opportunity in that area.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people trying to make it to try to get up to become a bigger company or a better company. And so that's where people are spending a lot of money because they're trying to gain that ground. So you can go that way pretty easy. It's the path of least resistance.
That's right.
And it has taken a lot of, self-discipline because there's been offers in the years past that are like, that's great. That's pretty attractive.
Yep.
And, you know, it's just not in line with what we do. And you can't sell your integrity, you know, because it can be gone in a second.
You can't get it back.
You can't get it back.
So when you recommend someone go buy a 4Runner, it's like, that's the same car that we recommend.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're not sponsored by Toyota, but it's the same answer because it is the right answer.
Yeah.
And then it makes it a lot easier to stay true to your values when you're working with great companies.
Yeah.
You know, and the companies like Toyota, they probably wouldn't work with you if you were working with the cheap tire company or the third rate, whatever. It's like the stuff that you put on your trucks is also high quality.
Yeah. Apex companies want to work with Apex companies.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it just helps them control the downsides. You know, any of those potential implications towards their brand, they're going to be really guarded around that.
And I'm the same way.
Yeah, we have to be.
And
you absolutely have to be.
What a funny thing to navigate. That's but it's as old as time.
It really is. And that's what business still comes back to, is how we treat others, our reputation, doing what you say you're going to do in the best way that you can. And if you're going to screw up, take ownership for it. Yeah, especially as a leader.
I just had to own up for a thing this morning. And I was like, I had talked to the president. I'm like, I messed up. And it was tough, you know, but this is on me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry this actually cost you quite a bit of money. I'm pretty sorry.
Yeah.
You know, let me know what I need to do to make it right. You know, and it comes along and just got to own it. Just got to take your pills.
Yeah, because people make mistakes. We all do. We all do. So if you do it with a bit of grace and some humility and take responsibility for it, you know. Yeah, like even this morning, right before we started the podcast, we were struggling with our point of sale here at the Overland Expo, and this customer was waiting for me to try to get it. And I just looked up at him, and I'm like, you know what, man? I'm going to give you a free subscription. Yeah, this is not your problem.
Yeah.
This is my fault. This is my problem. Just give us your name and address and we're going to take care of you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So, but because I didn't have that one thing ready to go. So that was on.
He came over. He was ready. He spent his time to get
That's right. That's right.
Well, good on you. Yeah. Right on. That's what makes good companies. Good job.
Yeah, you got to do that, right? So now let's talk about great trips.
Yeah.
So the last time, well, we saw each other last night, but the last time that we had seen each other before that, we were in Johannesburg, and you guys had rented this very cool place outside of town. And I rode, I think I was on a Triumph. I rode a motorcycle out there to go hang out with you guys.
We had pizza and a wood-fired pizza.
Yeah, that was amazing.
The house was awesome that we were staying at. It was such a
and wasn't it like the owner that was making the pizzas or something?
Yeah, his name's Rodney, and he rented this house. And he was kind of an overlander himself. Yeah. I think he was super pumped to just be around a group of people that were into what he's into, too. So,
totally.
He was flinging pizzas. They were really good.
It was super good. Yeah, so we were having pizzas and gin and tonics and talking about Africa, and you guys were actively trying to adjust your schedule because of some delays with the trucks. Yeah. And I was dealing with the same exact thing. Oh. So my truck was in customs jail, at the same exact time. So the Grenadier was in customs jail. So we got it. That was the last time we got to see each other. And then you guys went on one hell of an adventure. And for those that are listening, please check out the XOverland Africa series. It's available on your channels, and it's also available now on YouTube, if I understand it.
It's all on YouTube now. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, the cast of characters, the fact that you had your family with you. And some of the really new vehicles. So you got a new Sequoia that's in it, so you can really see how these vehicles perform.
Yeah, it was an epic trip. I wouldn't say that every day was the best day of our life, but we came off of.
What were some of the challenges?
It just the biggest one that we ran into was our build process. We've done some expeditions like Nordic Series the year before. A lot of pavement, a lot of pretty good gravel roads. Even Iceland has its rough spots, but it's pretty good traveling.
Yeah.
Pretty fast. And then you get to Africa and everything just shook apart. There's only a few other places that I can think of in the world that have rough of roads as that. Some sections of Baja. Australia. Yeah. Corrugations of Australia. Yeah. I mean, it just shakes the trucks apart. And it exposes.
And it's endless.
It's endless. You never get past it. And you think it's bad, and then it gets worse. Yeah. And then you think it's worse, and then it gets really worse. Yeah. So the good part of all of that is it exposed, hey, we got to change some things. We got to think a little different. When you get into the real stuff. Yeah. The real stuff. You can get away with a lot in North America. Not torquing a bolt just right.
That's why people would ask me, how come you guys didn't do this on the E7 trucks? How come you didn't do this on the E7, the Land Cruisers that are listening, the Land Cruisers that we used on Expedition 7, at the end of the day, I'm like, it's going to all fail.
It's all fall.
It's all going to fall apart. It'll all fall apart.
So it'll all shake and become weak and bend.
Yeah.
Or, vibration. If you haven't experienced it, I don't know how to explain it. It literally shakes your teeth out.
It does.
And you feel like you're damaging the vehicle every second.
That's right.
It's to that degree.
And there's really not a way to make it easier. I was thinking about the section that I did through Tanzania where we were going from Ngorongoro into the Serengeti. It was the worst road condition I'd ever been on in all of my travels.
Wow.
Because it was a combination of extremely deep corrugations with embedded rock. Oh. So you couldn't, if you're just on a corrugated road, take Australia, for example, air those tires down, get up to about 70 kilometers an hour, and just kind of try and let the vehicle float on top of it as much as you can. Mm-hmm. But in that section, I couldn't do that because there was rocks everywhere embedded between the corrugations. And it was just absolutely abusive. And I'm like, if there's anything that's going to break this Grenadier, it's going to be this road. It was breaking us. It was I was like, it's when you want to go up to 80 miles an hour just to make it stop.
Yeah, make it stop.
Yeah,
it's a mental thing. Make it stop.
So whenever I get thinking that way, I'm like, all right, we're going to pull over. We're going to stop for a second. We're not going to get too far away from the vehicles because a lion will eat us. But we're going to get out of the car for a second, maybe go sit on the roof rack.
Yeah.
And just take a beat. Yeah. Take a beat. But you're right. Those roads are so tough on the cars.
Yeah. So we found what works really well. Our suspension worked really well.
It probably helped a lot.
It did. I mean, we had, thank goodness so we did a couple things. We ran the CDEV electric shock from Icon.
That's a newer product?
That's a newer product. So you can adjust it on the fly with your phone.
Oh, and sweet. Fancy.
I mean, yeah. I think it's the total way to go. If you're listening out there and you're on the fence, go that far because you actually really use it all the time. And you can adjust stuff on the fly and the pitch and roll of the vehicle. You can set these different parameters and stuff. So we were just messing with that constantly to find the sweet spot. And eventually you did. And you're like, okay.
That's as good as we're going to get it.
This is as good as we're going to get it. And now we just got to manage our speeds and tire pressures.
Yeah.
We went with 35-inch tires before we went over there. They did look really good. We knew that there was going to be some complications if we needed more tires, which we ended up needing more tires towards on the next trip that we'll talk about. But they would have been a nice to have. But we ended up running the same tires on both trips.
Yeah.
But we went with an 18-inch wheel because we had a power brake system. And we go around and around on this because we needed an 18-inch wheel to fit the power brake.
Tell me what a power brake is.
So power brakes are just, a performance brake upgrade kit out of South Africa. They're the same guys that build the Toyota Racing Team brakes.
Oh, sweet. Have you been in the Toyota Racing Team facility in South Africa yet?
No.
Yeah, you should.
I missed that.
Should do that. Well, that's where they build. That's where they build the Dakar trucks. It's just insane.
So these are the brake companies that provide those brakes.
That's awesome.
We put those on our trucks. That is a very good move. That was a really good move.
And it works with the ABS and everything else.
Yeah.
Wow.
Phenomenal.
Wow.
They're not cheap. But you can stop a fully loaded Tundra with all the gear on a dime.
Did you install that on
the tires?
Did you install that on the Tacoma as well?
Every truck had it.
Oh, wow.
Including Sequoia.
Wow.
So we could run hard and stop fast.
Wow.
And,
nice.
But you get past that. I think you guys have it as your build spec that you want your rim size, your tire size to be twice the diameter or twice the spec of the rim, right?
Yeah. That's right.
So when you go to a 35 and an 18, you're out of spec there.
Yeah.
And I could tell. So it would have been, the ideal scenario would have been power brakes that would fit inside a 17-inch wheel with a 35-inch tire for that sectional density.
Yeah, sure.
And when we went to that 18-inch wheel, you could just tell that loss, what is that, like an inch of loss?
Yeah.
You can feel it.
But as a percentage of the carcass height, it's actually quite a bit.
Yeah.
So because the carcass height is only so tall, and if you take an inch out of that section height, it's as a percentage, it's more than you'd think.
So I think that came into play when we were airing down and trying to rip on these roads. And there was a debatable if the 35 was a better tire choice in size because it didn't match the corrugations very well.
Oh, sure.
The frequencies were off.
Yeah.
So if we'd have gone to like a 34.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I'm like, I still kick this around in my head, like, because we got to spots where like the 35, like nothing harmonically lined up.
Got it.
So I don't know, but I don't know if that's how the math works. It's just, these are just theories.
No, there is where you get really out of sync is when you don't match the other vehicles that are on the road that travel that same road. So you guys would have had a totally different wheelbase than the Land Cruiser 70 series that'll normally be on those roads, or at least the majority of the traffic is going to be a Land Cruiser 70. And I experienced that even with the Grenadier. So different wheelbase, longer wheelbase.
Gotcha.
So,
that makes sense. And they all run like a 32.5, 33-inch tire tops. Like there's not a bigger tire in Africa. So by the way, if you're out there listening thinking you have to have all these big tires, they're a nice to have, but they're not a requirement. All of the African overlanders, they're ripping around on 33-inch tires.
Yeah. Yeah, I was running a 265 70 R17 on the Grenadier. It's just the stock tire. Just ran the stock tire the whole time.
Yeah. And
just aired it down. Anytime I got into technical stuff, you just really make sure you air down. And then you got front and rear lockers, which make a huge difference. But you guys have those in the trucks too.
We just rear lockers.
We're still, that's enough.
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah. It was great. Yeah. So we learned a lot about traveling. I hadn't been on rough roads like that for a while. I mean, Baja, you get it. Alaska doesn't have roads like that. Yeah. I mean, they're a special breed of road.
Yeah.
Which is really fun.
And there's also this heightened awareness of the fact that if something breaks, there's just not much support.
Right.
It's very hard to get something repaired.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're on a road in Baja, it's like within 2 days, somebody's driven that fancy special part down to you.
You can get it.
You can get it, or you can DHL it down there. Like, whereas if you're on Benzel's Pass in northern Namibia, which you guys did,
yes,
there is nothing around there.
That is one of the most remote places you could be in a vehicle.
There is nothing around there.
Yeah, it's pretty remote.
And it's technical. Like it's like a legit road. Like especially you guys towing a trailer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was probably pretty sporty.
It was fun. And Cyrus drove it down. He was the one, like the 18-year-old kid driving this Sequoia with the trailer full of fuel down there. It was awesome.
I mean, is there still
street cred right there?
So is there still like all the carcasses of the vehicles that had rolled over down in the ditch?
Yeah, there's like constant reminder of like don't mess up.
Don't mess up.
Yeah,
exactly.
That was great. That Namibia is fantastic.
It's just one of the best. It's literally one of the best.
I'll go. If you say, "Hey, I'm going to Namibia," I will cut you off and say yes. You want to? Yes.
Yes. Nah. Yes.
Yeah. It's so cool.
I think it's one of the best places to overland in the world. If you love deserts, it's the oldest desert in the world. It's the highest sand dunes in the world.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. Holy cow.
And a quick announcement of our new Tires for Overlanding educational series that is going to be brought to the Expedition Portal YouTube channel. This is a 6-part series that is going to be released over the months of May and June, and it features detailed insights on mud tires, all-terrains, airing down, driving in sand, vehicle preparation, tread lightly, and more. And we're grateful to Hankook Tire for helping to support this new series. So take a look at the Expedition Portal YouTube channel for more details.
Yeah,
huge.
So when you go to Sosa's Flay and all, I mean, and then you guys got a chance to do part of the Skeleton Coast, didn't you?
Yeah, we looked at doing what you guys did on the E7 section, and what that would take, and it was just going to take too much time because it would take like 6 days or something.
It was a long trip. Yeah,
well, it's a lot of desert time, and so we had to compromise between, do we want to spend that much time in the dunes, or do we want to spend time other places? Because we're on a limited schedule. So we did 2 days in the dunes.
And Benzel's was worth it. I mean, it was worth it. And I didn't do that on the E7 trip. So we even made those same compromises. So I was able to do Benzel's at a later date. But
very cool. Yeah, that's a cool one to check off if you're out there listening. Go to northern Namibia. It's amazing.
Well, and it's just easy to travel there. You fly into Windhoek. It's a super safe, really pretty city. Tons of infrastructure, great restaurants and everything else.
Yeah, awesome.
And you can go to Avis and pick up your Hilux with all this stuff in it. And like you're off on your adventure.
Off you go.
Go any direction you want to go.
You just need a lot of gas.
Yeah.
Just make sure you got a lot of gas. Yeah, whatever you pick, you need a lot of fuel. Because it's a long ways up there.
And how did that work out? Because that was one of the things that you and I riffed on quite a bit before you left was how much fuel to take, how to carry it. How did you guys find that you had enough fuel? It was okay?
We did. So we made some pretty big modifications to the convoy. So we took an AT trailer, flatbed that Mario had built for me 3 years ago. And we just we got to put a fuel cell on this. So we bought a fuel cell off of Amazon with a fuel pump in it, and kind of took some of the experiences that we had from the E7 world of fueling trucks and all that. We got to do this. We just got to put all the fuel in one spot, manage it in one place as much as possible. So we bought a 91-gallon fuel tank with a toolbox on top, plumbed it into an Anderson cable directly off the tow truck.
Oh, nice.
So you just plugged it in, ran your pump, and filled up stuff. And we didn't have to modify fuel tanks. We didn't have to change OE fuel tanks.
But that was enough. The 90 gallons was enough to keep the convoy going.
We carried 4 Jerry's on the roof of Tundra, two Jerry's on the back of Sequoia, and a Jerry on the back of the Tacoma. That had a long-range automotive tank. But then we bought those trail tanks, the plastic ones, that go in your spare tire.
Yeah.
We had 6 of those.
Legit. How did those work? Because that's a really clever product.
It's so
they say it's for water, but everybody knows
we put fuel in it. And so that was our last resort. That we only
because they're harder to get to.
It's like you got to drop a spare tire. You got to. That's the whole process, right?
Yeah.
So we only loaded those up when they were empty for more than half the trip before we got to the Van Zyles and Sales. It's Van Sales. It looks like Zyles.
Yes,
pronounced Zyles. Or anyway, so we used all that fuel, all of it.
Wow.
To make that convoy work. Plus, so we needed 1,000-kilometer convoy range.
That's what you need.
And most people don't need that much.
And a lot of people don't realize that, but you never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, and we got to one spot, and they didn't have fuel. They had diesel.
Right.
So we had to go another 2 hours to the next pump. And then, which we had enough reserve. Plus, you got to carry reserve capacity on top of what you think you'd need. Yeah. And then when you're filming, you go back and forth and run over here and do that thing. And so you need contingency fuel, too.
That's right.
So I love that whole game.
It's fun.
It's so much fun. It's hard to find it.
Yeah, like when I was in Malawi, there was just no fuel, no petrol available. So I did do 1,000 kilometers with just the fuel in my vehicle.
How did you do it? What does the Grenadier have?
It only has a 90-liter tank. Okay. So I had 2 5-gallon jerry cans on the top. So that's another 40 liters there. And then I had another 40 liters in these rollable giant loop fuel bladders.
Gotcha. Cool.
And that got me there. And I drove really slow. I just became very conscious of my range. And I didn't do the side trips that I wanted to do until I was within striking distance of the border. And fortunately, one of the places that I really wanted to see was closer to the border. So I was like, okay, I'm going to make it.
Yeah, I got it. Now I can go do it.
Yeah. So otherwise, you're buying it on the black market. And there's just no guarantee around fuel quality. And this is a new vehicle. It's not, it's not like it's a carbureted FJ40 or something. So,
and you can get one bad thing and wreck it.
Yeah. And for you guys, you could affect the entire convoy.
Yeah. And we were running so many people.
Yeah.
Here's another risk factor that we decided to take. We couldn't fit the entire group of people in 2 cars. We had to have all 3 cars.
Sure.
Pretty much. I mean, you could have made it work. You're in Africa. You'll make it work.
Right.
But we had 9 people. And
that's a huge crew.
It was a big crew. It was a lot. I don't recommend 9 people.
Yeah.
We had to do it because we had a family of 5 and we needed. The magic number is still 3 trucks, 7 people if you're filming. 3 trucks, 6 people if you're not filming is ideal.
Yeah.
It's, work in pairs per vehicle. And
there are quite a few advantages to 3 trucks. I'm actually to the point now where it's like, I want to be in 1 vehicle or I want to be in 3 vehicle. Because the 2, it's a little bit better, but then you're just dealing with just the complications of other people's plans and another vehicle and everything else. You don't actually have that true redundancy.
Yeah.
Because if one of the vehicles breaks down, you still got to leave it at the side of the road.
Right. Yeah. And there's
the
something,
3 vehicles.
3 turns into a convoy.
Yeah, that's right.
And then so you have convoy
a little safer
mentality and you can move like a team.
Yeah.
2 you can, but it's still not the same effectiveness. Yeah. 3's the magic number.
And speaking of kind of the group, the size that you had and the fact that the convoy, it does, in my mind, add security to a trip. We experienced that on E7 when you've got 3 or 4 white Land Cruisers going down the road filled with a bunch of military-age males. You just don't attract a lot of theft or other. You don't attract a lot of that kind of stuff. Yep. But I know you guys had a little bit of a conversation with Jonathan from Kenya. And one of the things that stood out in my mind and his recommendations was that you guys were in a really good space because you had so many people.
Yeah.
It was such a large group that it just was going to significantly improve your security and your safety.
Power in numbers.
I would
strength
say
in
so.
numbers.
I would say so.
We factored that, we had 2 younger kids with us and then we had 2 women.
Yeah.
So it never really became a deal. Your spidey senses are up. You're thinking through things, but you're also saying, no, I think I'm good. We're good. We're good. There's only maybe one time where I was like, let's have the kids and the ladies stay in right now.
Yeah.
Let's just have dudes get out.
Yeah, sure.
Once in 2 months.
Yeah.
And that was just precautionary. It's just like, let's stay as precautionary as we can.
Remember when we were leaving that super sketchy city in Russia, and I had us
one with the burning tire, the lawns and stuff?
And I had us as a convoy, we went past our turnoff in all of the dust, and we backed up in the dust and then went down the side trail.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was pretty fun.
I love that stuff. The game of it all, It's a game until it's not, but I love those things.
Yeah. Just little things to be mindful of. Yeah. It was really interesting.
We rolled in without the lights on.
Yeah.
We rolled for like a while in the dark.
Yeah, that's right.
What I have never asked you about that. What gave you that at that time? What was the alarm? What was the alert?
The first thing that I look for around security is the presence of women and children. Mm-hmm. There were no women and children present in that town, and the men that were there were very, very interested and not friendly at all when they looked at long face, looking at studying us closely. Mm-hmm. And again, no women and children, which just means that like families aren't out and about. The women and children don't feel safe. They're there because there's, but they don't feel safe to be out and about. There was just a lot of abandoned vehicles. There was fires actively going with trash and lawns. And then there was that one like community building and that their whole thing was on fire.
Yeah. It was so wild.
Yeah.
It was straight out of
it was out of a movie. It was right out of central casting. So for me, it was just ticked off all of those concerns. We were very, very far from anywhere else too.
We were a long ways.
We were a long ways from any other city and help and things like that. So yeah, when I feel that strongly about something, then I take action on it. And that's not because, I'm, James Bond or something like that. It's just, I've talked to enough people that say, when you're feeling unsafe, do something about it.
Yeah.
Change your course, stop, go, communicate with others around you. Don't just sit on that feeling because it's there for a reason.
Yeah. We have a group rule that if anyone at any time, no matter what, feels unsafe, you can speak up and the entire group will act on it without question.
That's right. Because then everybody feels that they're heard and they have an out.
Yeah. And I trust everyone's got spidey senses and everybody's got different degrees of radar, and they might be picking up on something that is just in my blind spot. And we need to act on that because the risks are far too high.
They really are.
And none of it's worth it.
Yeah.
Like, why would you push it?
We're out adventuring. We're not, we're not saving the world or anything like that. It's just like
we'll move. We'll come back another day.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that you showing that as a leader is really important because then your whole team knows that they can raise their hand and ask for help. So
there's been only a few times when that's been activated. And
what are some that come to mind?
One was in South America, had some spicy spots every now and then. Central America too, but rolled into a campground one night and did a loop through there. And Ty was just like, no, something's up. This is just, no. Yeah. We're like, cool. And we were all tired. I mean, we've been pushing hard to get there that day. Drove another hour and a half after that to find a better spot. We got there and we're like, no, this is good. Good call, Ty. You did it right, There's never questioned again. But just things that, there's a guy standing out there and there's this thing and the gate didn't seem to be really a gate at all. And,
right.
This just isn't adding up.
Right.
Got to go. The biggest one was when we were held up by gunpoint by police in Peru.
Yeah.
We went around and around on if we should go or stay.
Yeah.
And we decided to stay. And that was, I think, also a good move in hindsight. I was kind of prone to move, but I think staying was the right call.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And you can't always get it right and you don't always know, but I think you're right. Just being open with your team, having that good communication.
Yeah. Yeah. The security side of things is, people say, and we get it on YouTube all the time. Like, you guys are just worried. What are you worried about? Well, like, well, I'm not really worried about anything until all of a sudden I have to be really worried about something. Just kicks off like that.
Yeah, people, they'll ask me like, what animal were you the most afraid of? Human.
The human animal.
That or a mosquito.
Especially in groups.
that or a mosquito.
Yeah.
Those are the two things that'll kill you in this lifetime.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, I think that 99.99% of travel is very safe. And I feel very, very comfortable traveling all by myself in just about anywhere. But I also accept the fact that I'm taking a lot more risk than some people may feel comfortable doing. It doesn't make me brave. It probably makes me stupid, so.
You got one life to live.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I feel comfortable with it. Yeah. I just I know I'm not nobody escapes this life alive. So I'm choosing my path. So.
I rarely ever I don't know if I ever have criticized somebody on their security thresholds.
Yeah.
Because everyone has different circumstances. They grew up in different households. They had different fathers. They had different uncles. They had different schools that all of these things that can put impressions of security and risk on you, So hey, if you're not comfortable with that, I understand. I mean, I don't understand, but I understand that you are that way and that's important to you. That's, you do you.
Yeah.
I'll do me. You do you.
Yeah.
And
the reality is things do happen. There was just the 3 gentlemen that were killed in Baja a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
They resisted during a robbery, and that's one of the number 1 rules. There's nothing that you own that's worth it.
Yep.
The only time that you resist is if there's the threat of kidnapping, or if if someone's taking your partner away, then everybody does everything they can. You fight.
Yeah.
But if they just want to take your truck or your camera or whatever, it's like big deal.
Yeah.
It's
insured.
Yeah, of course. Or even if it's not, it's just let it go. Let it go.
Let it go.
So, and then, in Kenya, when I was there was a British military man that was out traveling in the same way that I was, and he got held up. He fought back. They killed him.
Wow.
Right there. So, I think the lesson is that there's nothing that you own that's worth dying for. So if someone has a gun and they ask you for something, you give it to them.
Yes, you do.
You give it to them.
And their value of life is different than
yours. It's
yours.
totally different. It's a different culture. And so show humility, show submissiveness, look down, look away from the assailant, hand them anything that they ask for. If they ask for your phone, you give them their phone. You ask whatever they ask for. It's a good idea to keep your passport in another pocket. They don't care about your passport. They want your money and your phone and your car. So keep your passport if you can in a separate pocket, because that's going to make life a lot easier when you lose all your stuff. But, yeah. So, I mean, it's definitely not the reason not to travel, but it's just something to be aware of.
Just be aware of, train for it, think it through, have a plan. That's giving it up is part of a plan.
Yeah.
And then go travel, go see the world.
Yeah. Go do it. Mm-hmm. And then you'll get more comfortable as time goes along, and your spidey sensors will be a lot more attuned to it.
Yeah. At first they're all over the place.
Yeah.
And then pretty soon when what is it? You learn you learn the tone of the place. So I can't think of what that's called. There's a name for it. The baseline. You learn the baseline of a country or a location. Like, oh, this is all normal. Okay, now your spidey senses are even more accurate.
Yeah. And this is not normal. And then
when those kick off, you act.
Yeah,
you
that's
really
right.
think
You really do need to take action. That's one of the most important lessons to remember. So let's pivot a little bit.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the XOverland Ranch.
Yeah. So
it looks stunning. And of course, it's in Montana, which is stunning.
It is. It's right next to John Dutton, at the Yellowstone.
Yeah, sure.
We bought this ranch. So the whole idea of the ranch is a 5-year vision that took 9 months. And it wasn't by choice. I don't know, about a year and a half ago, we were sitting down, you're doing your 3-year, your 2-year, your 1-year, 3, 5 vision. And we were like, we think that we would really like to have some sort of a campus where people can learn to overland and get all these skill sets and build into leadership and work with our business partners, etc. We think this is where we need to go to help build the industry and keep it healthy and from our side. And So we started working it backwards. All right, so if we want to be operational in 5 years, we need to probably start. It'll probably take us 3 years to build something, get everything going with permitting, because Gallatin County is one of the fastest growing counties in the country. So resources are tough, and we have to find the land. We got to start looking now. We got to buy something by the end of the year, land-wise, and get going, because it'll just take this long to achieve a 5-year goal. And so we said, okay, and we started looking around, and all of a sudden this property pops up. I saw it the same day that Ryan saw it. We all shared this thing. We're like, you seeing this? You seeing this? Yeah, it's 30 minutes out of Bozeman. They wanted a ton of money for it at the time. We thankfully were able to work a much better deal. But it was 500 acres. It had a huge round barn for community center. It was a high-end wedding venue. What it was. And then COVID came in, and the family was like, I think we just don't want to do this.
We're done with that.
So they put it up for sale. And so I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, this is the perfect spot. It's already built. We don't have to go through.
Is it right on the river, too?
It's right across the railroad tracks from the Missouri, mile 6 of the Missouri River. 15 minutes off of I-90. And it feels like you're in the middle of nowhere. You're isolated up in there. It's this little spot of Montana that really, in Gallatin County, that doesn't get touched. It's kind of like a little hidey hole.
Wow.
And so we're like, okay, well, we should probably figure this out. And then it went off the market for a while. And we're like, okay, it's probably gone. And then we got word that it was probably going to go back on the market. So then it hopped up on May 1st, and it was going to go to auction June 7th. It was going to go to auction.
Oh, wow.
So all of a sudden we had 30 days to figure this out.
Right.
To buy this place. And long story short, there is miracle upon miracle upon miracle that happened to get us here. And we have family members and other investors that came in to support this project. And we were able to buy that place. And so through the last year, 8 months or so, we've completely gutted it. Went from wedding land to XOverland.
Yeah.
Overland land, So we put in a shooting range. We got 8 miles of driving course on there. We've got a closed course.
8 miles.
8 miles of trails on campus. I've already spec'd out that there's probably at least 50 campgrounds there, camping spots. And we're going to build it the way you would for overlanders, like you see in Africa.
Yeah, sure.
The camping spots in Africa, the way they've got that set up, we're going to adopt that here.
Awesome.
It's not really seen that way here in the U.S., but it works for trucks and vehicles. And it's got an amazing what we call the roadhouse. It's got a coffee shop in it, and it's like a clubhouse, and then 10 cabins around it.
Awesome!
It's awesome. It is just everything, awesome. And then the round barn can hold 500 people and cook for 500 people.
And you've already had at least one event there. You had GMC was there?
Yep. So we GMC selected the ranch as their location to launch the 2500, 3500 diesels, Silverado AT4 AEV. So Dave flew in. He landed his airplane on the airstrip there, and we launched.
You have an airstrip on your ranch?
We have an airstrip.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah, we have a bush plane airstrip. So you better be good landing on it. It's only 970 feet long. And the first half is real good. The second half, you better know what you're doing. But Dave was in there. He landed in there. He came in there 2-3 times. And we held this great event, launched that truck. And now we've kind of put pause on a lot of other events other than our own for the remodel period. That's all finished. And now we're full on booking it out as far as we possibly can. So it is incredible. We put a rad classroom in there. Like, we want a classroom that you actually want to go sit in.
Sure.
And learn this stuff. And so we got your picture up there of Dr. John, like, filling fuel tanks on Arctic trucks and airplanes and big wall wraps. And it's a really cool place to go learn something.
Awesome.
So, that's the ranch. And the quote is, come inspired, leave equipped.
I like that.
And we want to just get as many people through there as we can.
Well, I guess watch this space, huh? Because you're going to start announcing things that'll be coming up and other opportunities for overlanders to engage with your property and to come and learn and be inspired. Yeah,
please. Yeah, we need the overland community to get behind it because that's how it's going to financially work.
Yeah, sure.
None of us are here to make bazillions of dollars. We just want to see this work.
Yeah.
And do well for our investors. We have to do that, the business side. But it's the first property in the country that I know of that is built for overlanders.
So cool.
Yeah. I'm stoked on it.
Of course.
I'm super pumped.
Well, I hope to see it next month. So
yeah, come on up.
It's going to be soon. So, and speaking of next month, you guys are starting a little bit of an alternative adventure. It's an extension of the E7 vision. So Greg Miller said, "Hey, I want to take a boat the length of the Mississippi to the
into the Missouri." So last October, Greg and Oakley came up, his son, to the ranch to see it. And we were sitting in there, and he's like, "Wait a minute, this is the headwaters right up here of the Missouri River?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's mile zero. This is where the Gallatin, the Madison, and the Jefferson River converge and start the Missouri. And then it's 3,000 some miles to the Mississippi, and the Mississippi clear out to the bottom." He's like, "Do you think we can get a jet boat up that?" And I was like, "We might be able to. We should look at that." And then the idea just kind of went away. We, chatted through it that night, dreamed a little bit. It has a ton of historic significance.
Yeah. Lewis and Clark,
especially the Missouri and everything.
Which fun little fact about Lewis and Clark. So the Clark of Lewis and Clark, Stephanie Brady, our designer, she is a Clark.
Wow.
Directly descended from Clark of Lewis and Clark.
That is amazing.
Isn't that fun?
So Jimmy Lewis, who is on our podcast, Jimmy Lewis.
No way.
He is a Lewis.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
that's incredible. So we got it all covered.
Crazy.
That is kind of crazy.
Yeah. So the genealogy is still out there from Lewis and Clark, and
I love that.
So yeah, they camped right across from where the ranch is now, the day before they found the headwaters.
Wow.
In 1805. So so he's like, we should run a river trip, an E7 river trip from the bottom of the Mississippi clear to the headwaters of the Missouri. And so we leave next week. Yeah, we're going to do that.
Oh, that's going to be so funny. You're going to do a little video on that as well?
Yeah, we'll put together either a film or a 3-part series is kind of what I was thinking.
Now, it looks like there's been a few changes in the Overlander network, now being called the XOverland network. So talk a little bit about what some of those changes are. Why is it important for people to subscribe? I think you're even running a little bit of a special right now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So let's talk a little bit about the network. I'm so excited by the fact that there's a premium content channel that is available where it's all overlanding all the time, and it all reflects that level of quality and those values across all of the content.
Yeah.
So it's something that we believe is really important to support. So let's talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So it was the Overlander network. The reason it's not the Overlander network anymore is we went through some trademark battles for years, actually. Long story. But anyway, we just decided at the end of the day, we should all, instead of having a house of brands, we should be a branded house.
Yeah, sure.
So instead of having Overlander clothing line and an Overlander podcast and an Overlander network, but XOverland thing, we should just pull it all under one thing and work through has its own problems by doing that, but we should all work on one brand and just do that.
Yeah, sure.
So that's why you've seen a naming convention change. Nothing else changed, just XOverland. We have all those trademarks. We're 100% locked into all those things. They can't be taken away or contested at this point, which is great. So that's all been settled. Now we're moving down the line as a branded house of XOverland. So that's why XOverland Ranch, XOverland Podcast, and now the XOverland Network.
Yeah, sure.
The network is really important because there hasn't been a way for high-performing video series to do well outside of television. YouTube is not the best place for that. We fight it all the time. If you want to win at YouTube, you produce the fastest, cheapest content possible.
Yeah.
And you put it out as quick as possible. And that's how you win at the YouTube game. I'll bet you could argue that pretty well all day.
Yeah, there's very few examples, very few outliers that are kind of contrary to that. So there's a reason movies don't put their stuff on YouTube. It's all behind paywall and all, because YouTube just does not pay to the necessity.
necessary levels to accommodate high-end productions.
Yeah. You're lucky to make a couple grand a month, which just isn't enough.
It's just not enough. So we fought it forever, and we want to see higher-end content. So we were like, okay, we have to build something that'll incubate more high-end content.
Sure.
So it has to come in through a paywall. And at least that's the current working model. And
I think so. And I think if people want something of quality, they recognize that it isn't free. Otherwise, we have to remember, if you're enjoying something for free, you're the product.
That's right.
So
true.
if you're consuming content on Instagram and you're in doom scrolling mode and you're like, oh, but it doesn't cost me any money. Well, that's because you are the product that's being sold. You're the thing that's being sold. Your time and your eyeballs are the things that's being sold. So I think that a paywall model it's not only very ethical, but it helps to guarantee those values are reflected.
Yeah, and it allows you as a creator so many more options. You can think different.
Mm-hmm.
YouTube is built. Just look at it. It's pretty obvious how it's built to make them money.
That's right.
Whatever. I owe a lot to YouTube. YouTube's great. But it has its limitations. Yeah. So this is a navigation around that. So it costs money because we got to make money to do the thing.
So and the creators should be paid. It's only fair. Fair that people that are working that hard get compensated. I'm surprised oftentimes by the people that contribute to Overland Journal, and they're like, "You're going to pay me?" I'm like, "Yeah, we pay everybody who produces content."
Yeah.
So
same with XOverland. Even everybody that's on a trip is paid because we believe that is important.
It's the right thing to do.
It's the right thing
to do.
Yeah,
it is the right thing to do.
All that takes money.
Yeah, it does. Well, that's exciting.
Back to the money thing. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just important for those that are listening. Check out, the XOverland network. Take a look. I think you guys have a little bit of a promo going.
Yeah, 2 months free right now.
Yeah, 2 months free right now, which is a big deal. So go on and check it out. And if you like it, then support, the great companies like XOverland that are supporting the industry. So
thanks, Scott.
Make sure to check that out. We've asked you all of the standard questions in the previous podcast. We've learned a lot about your life and your other adventures, where you started from, but you've gone through a lot in your business, and you've gone through a lot with your family, and you've gone through a lot with adventures recently. Are there a couple pieces of advice, or maybe a few learned things beyond what we talked about with some of the stoicism and that you'd like to share with the audience?
That's a good question.
Things that might inspire people to live their life a little different?
I didn't necessarily buy into that the time is the most precious thing you got. No. I didn't buy into that necessarily. Well, maybe I just didn't.
Harder when you're younger, really, you think you got time.
Yeah, because you think you do.
Yeah.
And then you have a friend pass away.
Yeah.
Or you have a family member pass away. Or someone gets sick.
Yeah.
And then you start to go, oh.
Yeah, for me, it was my mom. It's like when my mom passed away, I was like, oh, that's like one step removed from me, from my own mortality. She was the one who made me, and now I'm next.
You're next.
Yeah.
So the sooner you can understand that, the better.
Yeah.
And then I've been balancing time spent with family and work-life balance, all that stuff. Also with making sure that I can leave something for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's a balance to that too. There's a legacy, and there is a part of legacy that's ego-driven, but then there's a part of legacy that's like, there's even a biblical standpoint on it, like leave something for your children's children.
Yeah.
And it's all about like managing the talents, right? What you've been given, managing it well, so that your kids' kids can have something. And I am a product of that.
Yeah.
My great-grandfather did things that benefited me.
Yeah.
That's part of why XOverland even exists. Sure. I have my great-grandfather to thank for that, because of how they manage things. And so I feel that pressure too. And I still think that's important. So these are big topics. No matter what you go do, adventure, whatever, I think adventure makes you a better person. It helps you with these bigger ideas. And but think about these ideas. And
but don't you think that we're supposed to be under that pressure? It just seems like people work so hard to make their life as easy as possible, which we shouldn't do hard things just to make our life complicated.
Sure, yeah.
But I do believe that hard things create better people.
I agree.
And I don't think that being a dad, it was ever supposed to be easy. I think is one of the hardest things that somebody can do well. And kids need their dads around, and they need their moms around, and they need their uncles and everybody else. Everybody's got to show up and do the hard things to give those kids a chance at life. So what you're doing isn't easy, and I don't know that it's ever supposed to be. So,
it's okay. Accept the hard. Pick your hard. That's been a thing that I've been working through too. Like, you can be lazy and fat, and that's hard. Or you can go to work, you can work out, and that's hard. You feel better, and that applies to all things, You can go make a bunch of money, but you don't raise your kids, and now they're a mess. Pick your hard. Yeah,
and pick your idols too. I mean, if you look at some of the most incredible achievements in the world are done by people that compromised everything else in their life to get to that state. And so you really do have to decide what's important. Otherwise, you can leave a lot on the table of the things that matter. So, they say, it's like hard today, easy tomorrow. Easy today, hard tomorrow. So if we don't, like you and I've talked about with health, it's like if we don't take care of ourselves today, when it's much easier to do it because we're younger. Then by the time we get older and we really want our bodies to still perform and we want to go see the world, it may be too late. And there is a clock on this stuff. There's pressure there. I agree. Pressure's good. You need pressure. And if you're trying to avoid pressure, that's probably a red flag. Just pick, think through the pressure. What's the good pressure? What do they say is the great is found in the thing that you're trying to avoid?
Oh, really? Yeah, brilliant. It's true. It is so true. I think about that for a second.
The stuff that you keep putting off or avoiding or whatever, it's like exercise or whatever. I mean, the greatness is found in those things that you work so hard to avoid. So, or put off or procrastinate on or whatever.
And, go build something too. I guess not everybody's built for that, but what are you?
You can build relationships. You can build.
Ask yourself, what are you building?
Yeah, for sure.
And why? All kinds of stuff today.
Well, Clay, thank you, man. Love you.
You too.
So appreciate everything you do. Thank you for being an inspiration to the community, to the industry as a whole. So proud of what you and your family have accomplished. And
thank you.
It's always an honor to have you on the podcast.
Heck yeah, anytime.
All right. Thanks, Clay.
You bet.
And we thank you all for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.